Hello and good morning friends, welcome to the CEC-UGC live lecture. Dear friends, with another lecture on human resource management. Today we would be talking on job evaluation. In the first section of the lecture, we would be discussing on the concept, objectives, advantages and process of job evaluation, whereas in the second half we would be discussing on methods of job evaluation. And for this very discussion, we have once again with us in our studios Dr. Namita Rajput. Dr. Namita Rajput is Associate Professor in Department of Commerce, Sri Aurobindo College, University of Delhi. Her immense experience and her attitude to give her best would definitely help us out in understanding the topic, job evaluation. Hello ma'am, welcome to the EduSec lecture.
So good morning friends, today I will be delivering a lecture on the job evaluation. This is definitely a very vital and important aspect of the human resource management. Now there are so many questions which comes in the minds of the people when they join the organization, that why the salary of area manager is better than a normal manager in the organization, how the CEO is getting more salary than a peon in the company, how the middle class and the supervisory staff of the corporate are getting less salary compared to the upper level management. So definitely as per the hierarchy of the people who are working as a part of the corporate, the level of the salary which they get is different. So this is what is all about the job evaluation, that is we try to calculate the worth of the job and accordingly we fix the compensation for each kind of a job. So let us have the insights of what job evaluation is, why do we do it, what is the process and the other various paradigms and the frontiers of the job evaluation. So let us have a look on this. Now when you talk about the job evaluation, we talk about the compensation management. Now compensation management is a very vital aspect of the human resource management because it gives us the various devices as to how to fix the salary and other financial emoluments relating to a particular job. Why should an area regional manager earn more than the sales manager of a division? So there are n number of questions of this type which needs to be answered and the answer is given only by the job evaluation. Or even why should a branch manager of a bank earn more than a branch associate? So definitely there is something which is giving a worth to the job and owing to which and under which backdrop the salary of the person who is higher in the hierarchy would be earning more compared to a person who is lower in hierarchy would be earning less. So the answer to this probably lies in the concept of the compensation administration and the job evaluation. So when you do this exercise of compensation administration and job evaluation nicely, of course, then the whole organization would be at peace. There would be mental rest in the minds of the people that yes, they are getting as per the worth of their job. So to do this kind of a exercise and to calculate the deep insights of the worth of a particular job, the job evaluation is a very important and a vital process which gives you the answers of these kind of questions which I have mentioned in the earlier part of my lecture. Now the primary purpose of the compensation management is to assure the management a sound compensation system and for the employees an equitable compensation for the services rendered. Now there is a concept called equitable which I have just mentioned in the last line. So that means the salary should not be inadequate compared to the worth of the job if the individual is putting a lot of efforts in terms of the strategic management, in terms of making the policy framework, in terms of making the programs and the action plans for the program and devising the path for the success of the organization. So the worth of that person would definitely be more because he is a torch bearer and definitely the upper level management is showing the direction to the other levels of the management and of course the corporation, the business corporate. So if that particular part is missing, where will you go, which direction would you follow, how the resources will be used, how they will be optimized, definitely there is a big question mark on this. So the good values, they emanate from the top management also. So we need to keep this in mind that the people who are top in hierarchy, they are bound to get more salary because their worth is more and they are more worthwhile to earn more compensation compared to the people who are working at a lower level and a middle level. So job evaluation is something to do about, and the compensation management is something to do about fixing of the compensation management plans, and so that, because if the compensation is not adequate, there going to be a deep sense of insecurity, and they would be definitely not feeling good working in that organization, which will eventually lead to reduction in the production levels, reduction in their the overall status, and they would like to shift from one organization to another organization, that is the labor turnover is going to rise. So all these compensation management and job evaluation has to be very judiciously and rationally done, so that all the ill effects in relation to inadequacy of the compensation are avoided to a larger extent. Now let us have some deep insights of what job evaluation is. So we need to discuss some kind of a backdrop. So let us have a look on this. The objectives of a sound compensation administration program can be divided into specific goals and subdivided into other goals. So equitable payment in proportion to relative work of the organization is definitely one of the prime point which has to be kept in mind, and definitely if the equitable principle is not there in the compensation administration and management and job evaluation, whatever exercise you do will be zero, because people work for compensation, people work for money. So that has to be very judiciously and nicely devised. So first principle which you have to keep in mind when you are making the compensation plans and the policies, and when you are doing a job evaluation, the equitable principle must be kept a prime importance. Secondly, the consistency of the payment in relation to the changes in the labor market must be done, because the consistency plays a very vital role to make the workforce very happy. Next is the adjustment of the payment in relation to changes in the labor market, and recognition of individual capacity and the proficiency must be there. Now see, when the people are working in an organization, they are putting their best efforts, they want to be a star performer of that company. So once they are actually taking that a kind of a co-partnership feeling is in their mind, and they are putting a lot of efforts to increase their production levels, to rise their status in the organization. So those particular efforts must be recognized very nicely by the management, because it is going to give a mark on the other mindsets of the people also. That is, they will have this kind of a mindset that yes, if the people are working hard and they are showing good worth and they are showing a rise in the performance levels, or if they are showing the level of efficiency, then their efforts must be recognized. So when you are making the compensation management and the evaluation of a job, you must keep in mind the equitable principle, you must embed the changes which are taking place in the labor market, then followed by that if the individual is putting the maximum efforts, the efforts must be recognized. So this recognition aspect must be given prime importance. Not only this, the comprehension of the plans by the supervision and the management. When you are doing the compensation or when you are making the compensation strategies and the policies, the overall planning, the overall plans of the organization must be very crystal clear in the minds of the people who are making it. Only then the compensation policies will be effective and fruitful, because any missing on the part of the knowledge and the endorsement of these kind of policy framework is definitely going to make the compensation policies also wrong. So the first step which you have to take is that you have to give a complete knowledge and the complete comprehension in relation to the overall planning of the organization, the vision, mission of the organization. Only then the compensation policies must be framed in the light of that kind of knowledge. Because more the knowledge they have about the plans, the vision and the mission of the corporate, then definitely the policies which they are going to make will be very much better, comprehensive, broad, and is going to make the workforce very happy. So procedures to solve the compensation problems rationally must be done, because whenever you talk about the modern corporate world, since we are living in the information era, the internet era, every information is available on a click of a button. So you cannot make the fool of the people that yes, this job is not worthwhile and you will be paid this much. So they have all the ways and means to verify the compensation which this particular kind of a job carries in the other organizations. So you have to be very clear in this mind that what your competitor is doing, so the competitive policies or the policies of your competitor must also be embedded while framing the compensation management and the job evaluation, because the market plays a very vital role and it has a straight spillover on the minds of the labor or the employees who are working in your organization. So definitely the organization must also have the clear plan to determine the differential pay levels also. Now we cannot have a same pay structure for all the people who are working in the workforce, because their job is different, their level of comprehension is different, their skills are different. So the differential pay scales, how they have to be planned, how they have to be paid, and what kind of differentials are kept in the mind when they are making the strategies for the job evaluation and the compensation policies must be very clear in the minds of the people who are framing it. An attempt should be made to keep the general level of wages and salaries of the enterprise in line with that obtained in the labor market or the industry. And adequate care should be taken to distinguish the people from the jobs. So there has to be one thing which is very clear, which has to be very clear in their minds, that whenever they are framing the policies relating to compensation and the job evaluation and the compensation management, they must have a clear vision about the complete industry, at the micro level about the firm and at the macro level about the industry, that what other the market players are doing in relation to the payment packages and the salary packages, and what is the worthwhile of a job. So your policies must be synced with the policies which are adopted across the industry and across the firm, because that is definitely going to give you a level of equivalence in the market, and definitely the people would be happy that yes, I am also getting the same amount of financial emoluments as my co-brother is getting in the other industry, in the same industry but in the other firm. So this has to be very clearly embedded when the policy framing relating to compensation is framed in the organization. Now, irrespective of the individual considerations, the care should be taken to ensure a equal pay for equal work depending upon the flexibility of the job. Now, equivalence in terms of compensation is a very vital and important factor. If A is at a particular position and B is also at a same position, but yes, in the other department, their salaries must be equivalent. Like when you talk about universities, so all the associate professors will be getting the same salary, all the professors will be getting the same salaries, the same norms are followed, the same worth of the job is there. So that is definitely going to give a very positive attitude and the opinion about a job and the job's worth, and the exercise which you do in relation to the compensation management, and of course the other policies relating to the compensation administration will be very fruitful. So the equivalence of the job and the equivalence of the pay and the work must be kept in the priority. Now, there should be a plan to adopt equitable measures for recognizing the individual differences in ability and contribution. So, you should have a common nomenclature and the common plans in terms of giving them some kind of more compensation or add-on benefits if they are doing a performance up to a particular level. So, you can fix up a percentage, maybe if the performance is more than 5%, so this would be given to them. If the performance is less than 5%, this will be the scenario, so on and so forth. So, this is definitely going to give a positive mindset on the minds of the people who are working in the organization. Then of course, the attempt should be made to provide some procedure for handling the wage grievances. The most important prime factor in the modern contemporary organizations is the wage and the salary structure, and that is a matter of controversy also. And definitely people will have their heart will be full of negativities if they come to know that the persons are there in the other organizations or maybe in the same organizations and their worth is not being recognized, and the differentials are full of nepotism, favoritism, etc. So they are definitely not going to stay more in your organization. So as a matter of fact, you must take into consideration all these parameters when you are doing a compensation management, because at the backdrop of it, the the worth of a job will be calculated, and everything calculated will be wrong if the first step, that is the compensation management policies, are wrong. So, great care should be taken when you are framing the policies in relation to compensation management, because it is in a way job evaluation only. Then of course, adequate care should be given to inform the employees and the unions, if any, about the procedure followed for determining the wage rate. Now, since we are living in an information world, and all the people who are in the organization, they are empowered with the Right to Information Act. So, you have to give the information on the public domain and on the public websites that yes, this is your compensation policy and this is what you are going to do when you are calculating the wage rates. So that there is a very clear cut policies in the minds of the people that yes, in terms of the payment of the wage rate, this will be given and that will be given. So, some kind of determination of the wage rate policies must be there in the public domain and must be endorsed to all the people, because information dissemination is very important when you talk about a complete information to be enveloped by all the people in the organization. Now, let us have a concept of the job evaluation. Job evaluation is a process of establishing the values of the different jobs. That is, what is the worth of a job is the concept of a job evaluation, because once you calculate the worth of the job, it is very easy to fix up the wages and the salaries. It is a systematic evaluation and establishment of compensation program by the organization. So, you have to adapt certain systems, you have to adapt certain compensation programs when you are doing some kind of an activity in relation to job evaluation. Next point, it provides a basis for ranking and grading different jobs and developing a pay structure for them. So, either you have to write grade A or grade B or grade C, you have to mention that when you are on a descending order, which is more, if you are on an ascending order, which is more. Like for example, I will give an example of Reserve Bank of India. The Reserve Bank of India, lower the grade the better it is and the hierarchy is more. So, you have to be very crystal clear about, and you have to understand that what is the grading system, what is the numbering system, what is the ranking system when you talk about the job evaluation, because the job evaluation is not common for all the modern day corporations. Each one of them, they have their own system and they have their own ranking and grading, and you have to understand first the policies of a particular company, and then you have to put in your best efforts to rise up in the hierarchy. It could be from lower to upper, it could be from upper to lower, like A, B, C. A is the lowest, B is little higher and C is the highest. It can be this way also. So, it is not always that you have A as highest, B as lowest and C as further lowest. So, every company has devised its own grading and point system and the grading system. You have to understand these policies and then you can calculate the worth of a job. So, it is a procedure of defining the duties, responsibilities, authority, relationship, skills, condition of work and other significant information system associated with the job. So, when you talk about the job evaluation, you have to understand the worth of a job, that is what is the wage and the salary structure which can be a part of this particular organization, and you have to fix up the role, responsibility and the evaluation criteria which is adopted by the company in order to grade or to put a number to a particular job, and definitely all the information associated with that kind of a job must be clearly understood. Now, when you talk about the job evaluation, it is very, very important exercise of the human resource management, because it provides the valuable data and the information to develop the job description and job specification. So, this job description and job specifications we have already been discussed in the previous lecture series, in which all the 360-degree parameters of the job, role responsibility, qualifications and role responsibilities of an individual, the specifications of a job, etc. is calculated in advance. So, first you have to analyze the information valuable data and information to develop this kind of an attitude, that is how the job will be described and what is going to be the job specification. So, the basis of calculating the job description and the job specification is given and provided by the job evaluation. So, job evaluation is perhaps the basis for doing these kind of an exercise. Job evaluation is a very vital duty of the HR managers, which is done in order to determine the worth of each job within an organization. Job analysis data can also be very informative in the job evaluation because by the job evaluation we mean the usage of job analysis, the information to determine in a systematic manner the value of each job in relation to all jobs within the organization. So, we have seen that when you talk about the job evaluation, it gives you the basis for the job specification also and the job description also, which forms the basis of your compensation policies and your other basic criteria, your promotion strategies, etc. So, you can see how vital it is and how important it is because of the importance of the information which is being generated by the job evaluation. So, it has to be very systematic in nature, it has to be very worthwhile because all the information which is derived from this becomes the input for the other vital human resource activities. Now, it is a rating of the job which tries to compare the relative intrinsic value of each job and develops a job hierarchy. Now, you must know that when you join an organization, you always happen to understand the policies of the company, that how the company is being performed, who are going to be your bosses, who all are there in the work culture, who all will be your co-employers, employees, etc. So, you need to understand the job hierarchy of that organization. So, that job hierarchy, how it is made through the basis of the information which is given by the job evaluation. Because job evaluation gives us a very important input and the explanation about the worth of a job. So, once you understand the worth of a job and you understand that CEO is on the top, the deputy manager is lower, the manager would be lower, the senior manager would also be lower, and the other foreman and the supervisory staff will also be lower in hierarchy. So, this kind of a particular world called hierarchy is built from the information which is derived from the job evaluation. So, how vital and important it is, you can very well understand. So, it is very important to understand that if it is intended to rank a job and not the employees, under this job evaluation process, wages and salary differentials are also recognized on the basis of job rankings. Now, here I would like to make a mention that when you are doing a job evaluation, you are not evaluating an individual, you are just evaluating a job. Once the job is evaluated, the persons are placed on that particular job, and then of course the differentials and the pay structures are decided accordingly. So, it is not the individual who will be rated, it is the job which will be rated for which the worthwhile of a job will be calculated. Now, let us have some definitional aspect of the job evaluation to give the clarity to the concept. The job evaluation represents an effort to determine the relative value of every job in a plant and to determine what the basic wage for such a job should be. And from the above definition, we can conclude that job evaluation may be defined as a method of assigning the value for each job in a job hierarchy so that to establish and determine and compare a comparative remuneration for different jobs. It also takes into account the demand of a job in terms of efforts and capabilities. So, here the definition, from the definition it is very clear, and just to have a recap again, the job evaluation is a systematic activity to calculate the worth of the job. So, here we collect every information about the job, that is what role responsibilities would be and how important will be a person in the upper or lower in the hierarchy, and then we try to fix up the salary and the wage structures of each individual. And it is not the rating of the individual, it is the rating of the people who will be which will be done and given importance, not the individual, because once it is fixed, you can fix up the other parameters on the basis of this. So, it is the basis for so many other vital activities in the corporation. Now, what are the objectives of job evaluation? The key objective of job evaluation is to determine the relative worth of a job, and in order to develop the equitable salary structure, as already been mentioned. Now, according to International Labour Organization, which makes a special mention here, the main aim of job evaluation is to establish the relative values of different jobs in determining the relative worth of a job. Now, let us have a look on this particular slide. Job evaluation is giving a weight oblique a job value which is definitely going to give a lot of an important input to the salary structure, and that salary will be given to the employee. So, how important it is you can very well understand from this particular slide. Now, let us have a recap of the objectives of job evaluation very quickly. To provide a standard procedure for determining the worth of a job, to determine the equitable wage differentials in the organization, to eliminate the wage inequalities, because if the wage inequalities are there, there will be a negative mindsets of the people, so you have to avoid this, and to form the basis for developing the incentive and the bonus plans, because if the people are doing and showing a star performance, their efforts must be recognized, and that definitely will add to the worth of the job. To provide the valuable information to the employee selection, placement, etc. As I told you that this becomes the basis for all other vital important activities in the human resource management. And lastly, to provide a benchmark for making a career planning for the employees in the organization. Now, considering all this, we need to understand the advantages. So, advantages are obviously very common, and the sum of which has already been covered in the objectives and the definitional aspect of the job evaluation. This offers a very important and a scientific criteria to calculate the worth of the job, and it is a very rational process. It is definitely going to eliminate all negative mindsets from the mind of the people who are working in the organization, and it helps in ablating all the conflicts which are even bound to arise in the future activities. It simplifies the wage administration system. It provides a rational basis for wage negotiations, and the information which is provided by the job evaluation may be used for recruitment, selection, transfer, promotion process on the basis of relative job requirements. So, I hope this session has given you the basic concepts of the job evaluation, the meaning, advantages, objectives and advantages of the job evaluation. In the next part, I would be taking the other methods of the job evaluation, that how it is done. Thank you so much. Hello friends, in this part of my lecture I would be discussing upon the process and the methods of job evaluation. Now, as we see that we are living in a very contemporary, dynamic, ever changing world, so we must understand that which kind of methods are used in various corporations to do the job evaluation. So, there is very important and an urgent need to understand the process of job evaluation. Although the job evaluation process which is adopted by various companies are different. We do not have a very standard steps and the process which is adopted by the various corporations. But yes, we must understand the series of the steps commonly known and commonly adopted by the various organizations. Let us have a look on this. The first stage is the preliminary stage. The second stage is the planning stage, followed by analysis, internal evaluation stage, again followed by external evaluation stage, design stage, grading stage, and last but not the least, the development and the maintaining stage. So, as you all know, the process of job evaluation, anything which is called under the process, we cannot have or we cannot bypass any of the stage. So process means you have to follow a sequence in this regard, and the process is a series of steps. One step you cannot bypass the other step. You have to follow a sequence. So let us have a first look on this, what you mean by a preliminary stage. Now this stage is even earlier than the planning stage, because you have to collect the basic information relating to a job. And the preliminary stage involves the setting of job evaluation program. You have to stage and you have to start with the program, and at this stage decisions are made on the requirement of a new program or review of a prevailing one, and a choice is made of the type of program to be used by the organization. Now second is once you are having a backdrop of all the information about the job structure, the second is the planning stage, in which we do all type of plannings in this regard. And in this stage, the evaluation program is drawn, and the job holders to be affected are informed about the program, and due preparations are done for setting up the joint working parties, and the job to be evaluated is selected. Now once we have to start with the planning process, you have to make the people understand that yes, we are doing the job evaluation, we are trying to find out the worth of each job, and this information must be known to them, because only it is definitely going to make a lot of difference. If it is not known to them, then of course the planning would be faulty. The next is your analysis stage. As the name suggests, we synthesize all the information, we try to infer certain conclusions, and the analysis part is very important when you talk about the job evaluation. Now in this stage, the required information about the sample of the jobs is collected, and the information is collected on the basis for the internal and the job external evaluation of the jobs together. Now the next is your internal evaluation, followed by the external evaluation. Let us have a look on this. After analysis stage, the sample of the benchmark jobs are ranked as per the chosen evaluation scheme as decided in the planning stage. That is, you must have decided in the planning stage that how and when and what benchmark relating to jobs are to be done. So we are doing accordingly. And then we have the external evaluation stage. After the internal evaluation on the market rates of the job is collected, to ascertain the prevailing rates of the job is done in the market. Then we have the design stage. After the evaluation and ascertaining about the internal and the external, we fix up the grades of a job, that this is grade A, this is grade B, this is grade C, or we try to number them, this is number 1, this is number 2, and this is number 3. And accordingly the salary structure is decided. So that is all in the design stage, because design stage has come after the deep analysis stage, and before that we had a preliminary stage and the planning stage. All the stages are very deep, a lot of work and efforts are needed to do that scientifically, and once we are done with the analysis stage, the next is to design the structure, because now you have a complete information in front of you in relation to grading and giving them the point system relating to each job, and then you decide the salary structure relating to each job. Then we have a grading stage. In this, the different jobs are slotted in a salary structure as designed in the previous stage, and the last is developing and maintenance stage. This is a concluding stage in a job evaluation program in which techniques for maintaining the salary structure are established with a view to accommodate inflationary pressures in the salary scale. It also involves grading new jobs in the structure and regarding the prevailing jobs in the light of changes in their task and prevailing market rates. Now see, once you do the job evaluation is not a static process. It has to be dynamic. A constant revision is done in terms of the job evaluation, because you are affected by the rise in the prices also. That is, the cost of living goes up, the cost of living goes down. So you have to revise the salary. Like in university, we have different pay scales. Like we always, a kind of a revision is done, 6th pay commission, 7th pay commission. So this is in light of all these backdrops and the changes which take place in the world and across the country in which you are being operating, because there are a lot of changes which have a deep impact on the salary structures of the employees. So you have to keep revising them, you have to keep maintaining them, and the designing has to be very nicely done with constant revision. Otherwise the salary structure which was adopted in the yesterdays will no more be applicable now, because of the changes which have taken place. So constant revision has to be done. So now let us have deep insights about the methods which are adopted for job evaluation. So we have two methods, one is a quantitative method and other is a qualitative method. So there are two methods of the job evaluation, that is to calculate the worth of each job. So job evaluation methods can be divided into non-qualitative and the qualitative methods. Let us have a look on this. In the qualitative methods we have two, the ranking method and the job grading method. Whereas when you talk about the quantitative methods, again we have two, the point system and the factor comparison. Now as the name suggests, the qualitative factors, it cannot be quantified. So some kind of a grading and ranking is done, because once you are dealing with a non-quantitative data, you have to adopt these techniques, because you have to quantify something which is not measurable. So the best technique for calculating the non-measurable is the ranking method and the grading method, followed by the quantitative methods. Quantitative methods are definitely very easy to quantify because they are quantifiable. So once we have a point system and we have a factor comparison, and easily we fix up the salary and the pay structure from the information which will be derived from these two methods. So let us do these one by one. What are qualitative methods? Evaluation can be done by keeping in view the qualitative as well as the quantitative methods. As the quality is a very important factor for the measurement, it is a very important aspect for the job evaluation. So when you talk about the quality methods, we have two methods, the ranking and the job grading. Now let us first do what is a ranking method. Now ranking or ordering method is composed of both management and employee representations. The purpose of this committee is to rank the jobs in order of their importance from simplest to toughest order or from highest to lowest. So this committee of several executives examines the description of job and they give the ranks to each job. As the ranks become famous and become a part of the policy framework of the organization, it is very easy to identify who is upper in hierarchy and who is lower in hierarchy. So you have to prepare the job descriptions in relation to this backdrop. The job description is in relation to a complete preparation of the different parameters relating to a job, that what the job position will be, how, what kind of qualifications would be, etc. And definitely the method which is adopted here is very simple and easier, so that it is understandable to all. Now who will be rating the organization? So selection of raters is also very important. They should be free from all kind of biasness, etc. After preparation of the job description, the next step is the selection of the raters. The job may be ranked department wise or in group of a workmen. The factory jobs should be compared with the clerical jobs or unskilled job because of the difference in their nature. Now selection of rates and the key jobs. After the selection of the raters, certain key jobs are identified, selected and then compared with the other jobs. The key jobs are cautiously chosen from the major departments. Now the ranking of all jobs. The last step is to make a comparison of similar jobs to determine its exact ranking in the scale. All the jobs are then ranked from lowest to highest. So this is a kind of a qualitative method which is all about ranking and grading. This has to be a very rational process with lot of efforts in terms of understanding the nature of the job, understanding the various departments. You have to actually group up the activities, subdivide it into different departments and then give them the rating and the grading, because this is the final hierarchy which has to be on the public domain. Any kind of mistake can really cause a lot of problems and confusion and ambiguities in the structure, hierarchical structure of the organization. So whatever we do, the rating has to be done very cautiously for the organization. Now about the suitability of this kind of a method, that is the qualitative method. The ranking method, as we have done, is a qualitative method, is only suitable to the small concerns, not for the big concerns, because in the big concerns or when the size of the company becomes larger, it is very difficult to do and adopt this kind of a method. So this kind of a method, that is the ranking method, is only good for the companies which are working at a small scale. Now what are the basic advantages of a ranking method? As I told you, it's a very simple method, understandable to all. then it is definitely a very cost effective method. You just have to put the number against it, or you have to put a grade against the job, and it can be installed without any delay, and it is not at all a time consuming process. So once the method is so simple, it's not at all time consuming, understandable to all, but yes, you have to understand the suitability aspect of it, that you should be able to apply this method only when your operations are at a small scale, not at a large scale, because when the large scale is there, the complexities they increase, and the organization is subject to a lot of complexities. So there, this kind of a method is not at all suitable to do the ranking and the grading aspects of a job evaluation. So there the quantitative methods would be better. Now, what are the basic limitations of a ranking method, which is definitely a qualitative method? So let us have a look on this. Under this method, the ranking is not based on a standard criteria due to biasness. So this basic limitation has to be understood, that this method is not a simple method, not a subjective method, not an objective method, but it is a subjective method. Subjective method is that method which is full of biasness, nepotism and favoritism. Next is under ranking method, the jobs are only ranked in the same order. Consequently, it is difficult to determine the exact difference between the different jobs. So calculating the differentials of the job here is a problem. And under this method, the chance of inaccuracy also goes up, and it is definitely some kind of negligence is there. And the last is that the employees may resent the arbitrary ranking of the jobs in the organization, and once the employees' consent is not there with you, then definitely it is going to fill their minds again with a problem, and definitely it is not a good method, because the employee consensus is not there. And it is very important for the modern day organizations to have the consensus on whatever method is being followed in the organization. Now we come on to a job grading method. The job grading method is of course another qualitative method, which is also on the lines of the this grading, this point system which we have already discussed. So in this method, the jobs are graded in the groups. Each group is assigned one of the grade. Information about different jobs is collected with the help of job analysis, and they put under different grades according to their nature, importance, responsibilities involved. So you have to prepare a grade prescription here. You have to select the grades, and they have to be very clear about the role they are going to play according to this role. And of course, after selection of the key jobs, they are assigned a suitable grade level system, and all the jobs are put into appropriate grades and the classifications. So as the name suggests, this is the last step under all the jobs are put into appropriate grades. For example, all unskilled jobs are put in one as a class, that is the clerical jobs, in another class, and so on and so forth. So each and every grade or the class has the same wage rate. So here we have discussed now the two methods of job evaluation. One was quantitative and the other is qualitative. I started with the qualitative, in which we did two types of methods. The first was the ranking method and the other was the grading method. So now there is a need to understand the important aspect of the quantitative methods also. So let us have a look on what are quantitative methods. As the name suggests, it is very easy to quantify the quantitative methods. So there are two types of such methods. The one is the point system and the other is the factor comparison system. All the human resource students must understand the basic difference between the quantitative and the qualitative aspects, because eventually they have to face the corporate and they have to understand which type of a system is followed in the organization in which they have joined. So we have discussed the first part, now we will be discussing the second part, that is the quantitative methods. Let us have a look on the first method, that is the point system. The point system is the most broadly used technique of job evaluation. It encompasses quantitative and the logical approach for the measurement of job value. Number of key factors to be considered in each job are recognized. Thereafter, the degree of each factor is also determined for assigning the points. Then the factors are assigned points and sum of it gives an index for the relative weightage of the job. This system is based on assumption that important factors of each job can be determined by evaluating it, and later the points of different jobs are converted into the wage rates. So here you have seen the method is very easy to quantify. You have a proper system to calculate the point system, and the point system gives you the complete insights of how the wage rate is going to be calculated. Now, what are the different steps which are taken for job evaluation under the point system? Let us have a look on this. We have different types of job to be evaluated, and there are number of jobs in an organization, and they may vary from top to unskilled one. So, first and the foremost task is to put the similar jobs together and the unsimilar jobs together, and thereafter a distinction of evaluation is done, that is the skilled jobs are evaluated in a different way and unskilled job are evaluated also in a very different way. So, what are the number of factors to be used here? After selecting the job to be evaluated, the next step is to determine the factors to be used for evaluation process. It is very challenging to select the number of the factors here because it is on the basis of the number of factors used. The number of factors should be put such that all the facts of the job are evaluated in a very systematic manner. So, once you are selecting a factor, you have to be very clear about it, that there should not be missing on the various factors which you take while calculating the job evaluation method. So, the number of the factors to be used varies from enterprise to enterprise because every enterprise uses its own method, and the number of the factors to be used varies from enterprise to enterprise. The common factors which are used are education, job conditions, training skills, physical abilities and the mental requirements, etc. Then we have the third step, that is the method of job evaluation in terms of the quantitative aspects. And in relation to in relation to the point system, then we have determination of the degrees. That is, first you have to assign the job to be evaluated. The second step was to find out the number of factors to be included in, and the third is to determine the degrees. Now, the next step is the subdivision of each and every factor of evaluation into different degrees. For example, experience, which is generally used by the factor for every job, may be segmented into 5 categories: from 3 to 6 months with 5 points, from 6 months to 1 year it could be 10 points, from 15 points for experience from 1 to 2 years, and so on and so forth. So, you need to understand the various factors to be used and you have to subdivide and give them a kind of a point system that is from maybe 1 to 100, it could be from 1 to 50 or it could be from 1 to 10, again depends upon organization to organization and the degrees of the job and the types of job you are evaluating. Next is the assigning of the weights. After that, each factor may be assigned a weight as per their importance. For example, for executive post, mental requirements will be given more weightage than the physical requirement, but if we are doing the evaluation of the lower level jobs, then the physical requirement will be given more weightage compared to the mental requirements, because here the physical exercises and the physical inputs will be given more importance, whereas when you talk about the top level management strategy maker and the policy framework maker, the mental requirement gives a more importance. So, more weightage would be given to the people who are using a mental framework, that is the top level management, compared to the people who are working at a lower level. So, that is the operational aspect will be given a lesser weightage. The next is to assign the money value to the points. Once the weights has been assigned to all the factors, the next is to sum up all the points together for finding out the value of each job. The value of the job is then converted into monetary terms with a predetermined formula. For example, if it is assumed that 1 point is equal to 25, the 150 points are equivalent to 3750 in the money value. So, it is very important now that you have done and assigned the weights, you have calculated the degrees, you have finalized on the factors. The next is to convert them into the monetary aspect. So, if you have done about the point system, the next is to simply multiply by that point system and you are having the money value of the salary in front of you. Now, let us do the advantages of this kind of a point system, which is very systematic, very objective and acceptable to many of the organizations. The point system has the following advantages. Let us have a look on this. This method gives us a numeric basis for the wage differentials. Second, the scale once decided under this method can be used fairly for a longer period, and the job can simply be evaluated in the money terms, and there are assigned on the basis of the point connected with the job. This method of job evaluation being methodical and objective is more satisfactory to employees as well as for the management. And under this method, the elements of the human basis is reduced to the minimum level. This method is worthwhile even if the number of jobs are very large, and this method is more accurate in comparison to other methods of job evaluation. So we have seen here that when you compare the quantitative and the qualitative methods, the quantitative methods are better, they are more objective, and they can be even applied to those organizations with the large framework and those who are working on a larger scale. And this method is the most accurate method in the relative terms, not in the absolute terms. But yes, anything which has advantages, they also have the disadvantages also. So what are the basic limitations of the point system? This method involves a very high cost, cannot be implemented by the medium or the small enterprises because it's a very time consuming process, it's a very costly process, and dividing the jobs and then grading them and then putting weights to it, putting degrees to it, and then finally calculating the money value of it takes a lot of time and efforts and money. So definitely it is only suitable for the larger organizations, but yes, when you talk about the medium and the small organizations, the quantitative methods are not good, but the qualitative methods are better. And the point allotment to various factors is also a difficult task when you talk about the job evaluation. The second quantitative method is a factor comparison method. We are done with the first method, now we are on the second method, that is the factor comparison method. Factor comparison method is a combination of the ranking as well as of the point system. This method was developed by Mr. E. J. Benji in 1926. Under this method, the relative rank of the various jobs is evaluated in relation to the monetary scale. Some of the key jobs are identified in the organization at the first instance, and then the ranked taking into account one factor at a time. Generally, 5 factors are evaluated for each job. For example, the mental efforts, the skills, the physical efforts, responsibilities, working conditions, etc. So following steps are followed when you are calculating the job evaluation method according to the factor comparison method. The first is selection of the factors to be used. So this is primarily the first and the most important method, in which you have to first select that whether you are going to take into consideration the mental efforts, the physical efforts, the working conditions, the role responsibilities. So you have to be very clear about what factors you are going to be taking into consideration when you are doing a factor comparison method and doing the job evaluation on the basis of it. Next is your selection of the key jobs. The next important step is the selection of the key jobs. Standards are established and all other methods are to be compared with the job roles. All the key jobs should be precise and well understood, and there should be no conflict between the management and the employees in this regard, because you are selecting the key jobs, and definitely it should be identified to cover the range from the lowest to the highest paid workers. And the ranking of the key jobs is done. That is, after selection the key jobs, after selecting the factors to be identified, the next is to rank of the key jobs. After the selection of key jobs, the various jobs are ranked on the basis of each of the 5 taken factors which are taken earlier. So you have to value the factors, you have to compare the factors, and then you can fix up the wage structures. So what are the factors which are factor comparisons, what are the advantages of it? This is definitely a very systematic method. It can be very easily understood by the employees, but the only information has to be endorsed to them, and this also gives the relative importance to the various factors which you have chosen, on the basis of which you are going to do the job analysis. And this method helps in avoiding an overlapping criteria, because you have to first identify the factors and then you can take the various decisions on the basis of the factors which you have taken into consideration. So there is no overlapping of the activities. And this method can also be used for the unlike jobs. Now coming on to the limitations aspect of it, this method is very difficult because to select the factors is also a big job, and it is definitely a method which is not very easily understandable to all, and it is a very difficult method, and this is a very costly method, and this is not suitable for the small organizations and the medium organizations, because their operations are not at that scale that they are going to spend so much on the parameters like selection of the factors, the factor comparisons, then putting a money value to it. It's hell of lot of a job. So it is only suitable for the organizations which are operating at a larger scale. So I hope this session gives you a lot of information, and the takeaways would be good in terms of what is a compensation management, what is a job evaluation, what factors are considered, what are the objectives of it, what are the methods of it, that is the quantitative and the qualitative, under what circumstances quantitative methods are good, under what circumstances the qualitative methods are good. The quantitative methods are good for the large organizations, whereas the qualitative methods are good for the small organizations because of the so much of limitations and the factors concerning it. So I hope if you have any queries, you will contact me, and this contact details will be given by Gitika Unyal, and who is the host of this show. So I give the dice to her. Thank you so much.
With this note, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much for giving us a very productive session, and we discussed in detail on job evaluation. As we have some few minutes left over here, so let's have some questions so that a student would benefited from the questions round. As you have given the description and you have explained the concept behind the job evaluation in detail, but if we talk about job evaluation, so what are the parameters which decide that how the job could be evaluated?
Now see, when you talk about the job evaluation, it's a very scientific and a systematic technique to calculate the worth of the job. So basically we collect all the information, all the backdrops, all the changes, all the mindsets, the factors relating to all the competitors into it, and then we synthesize the information and try to calculate the importance of each job in a different hierarchy. That is, if definitely there's a complete mindset which is very crystal clear in the minds of the people, that the people who are at the higher in hierarchy would be given more salary compared to the people who are given less salary. But yes, the different parameters must be kept, because the compensation administration gives you the answer. The equitable aspect must be kept in mind, the judicious aspect must be kept in mind, then of course the kind of work they do also must be kept in mind, the role, responsibility, qualification, etc. must be kept in mind. So there are so many parameters which are synthesized together to find out the worth of the job. So these are the factors which will definitely going to play a vital role in giving you this kind of an information.
If we are talking about lots of things while evaluation, so does it vary from person to person also? If the two persons are of same are on the same job, or they are designated to a particular position at the same position, but when the evaluation comes, the compensation kind of view or the incentives, they may change from person to person?
Now see, when you talk about there should not be any difference, first point. And if there is any difference, it is definitely going to give a negative mindsets, and the labor turnover would be high, because we are living in a Right to Information Act era, in information technology era, knowledge era. So they have a complete access, and they can put a query by filling just a small form that we want the information relating to this, why this person is getting more salary than me. Although when you talk about in terms of the hierarchy and the position, they are at the same. So there should not be any kind of a difference. If there is any kind of a difference, then it must be highlighted, and this is the basic reason for the conflicts. So the conflict resolution must be done, and they must be placed at the same salary, because we also have a rule in University of Delhi that a senior will always be higher than a junior. So when there is a pay fixation, and if the junior has done certain add-on factors like PhD degree or something, so a lot of 3 or 4 increments are added to our profile, and the senior is not getting that profile, so the senior will be promoted first, then the juniors. So the policies must be very crystal clear, keeping into consideration your experience, your profile, your qualifications, and then of course the people who are at the same level should also be given the same amount of salary, because otherwise this is the big reason for their conflict.
And if any changes in the protocol or any changes in the norms takes place, then it is the responsibility of the company to communicate to the employees, so that things become easier.
Anything which happens across the globe. The first thing which I mentioned in the part of my lecture, that the compensation management must embed the changes, the global changes, because there are so many changes which take place in the labor market, the legal aspects, the political aspects, even the global aspects, because we are in a globalized, liberalized economy. So hence that must be embedded in the pay structure, and more the flexible approach and more the good compensation packages, and this must be communicated on the website and must be on the public domain of the company.
Definitely, dear friends, we also wanted you to ask questions, and if you want to ask questions pertaining to the subject, then you can mail us at info.cc@ic.in. We would love to solve your queries the next time when Dr. Namita Rajput visits our studio. So very soon we would be conducting another session under the series Human Resource Management. Keep watching us, keep writing us. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much.